In this video, we're going to be making a custom flag and we're going to tile it. And we're going to go step by step. If you need to know how to do this, you're going to want to stick around. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Edgar with AE Timber and Pine, and my goal with this video is that you just copy and paste what I do. You click where I click, you do as I do, and you're going to go ahead and get a custom flag, and you're going to be able to set up your tiles for a tiling job. That is the goal of this video. It is a little bit longer than my typical videos because I do go step by step, but it is the second time that I've recorded it, and it's a lot shorter than the first time. The first time I was definitely over an hour because I was going a little bit slower and was more methodical in it, but this second time around, I sped it up. I was still able to hit those key points that I wanted to share, and we definitely shortened up the video. So I hope you guys like this, and we're going to go right into it here in just a moment. If you are liking the content, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also leave me a comment down below. Even if it is an emoji, it all helps with the algorithm. And lastly, before we get into the video, I do want to share that I am taking a leap of faith, and I recently opened up a GoFundMe account to be able to raise funds for a brand new computer. With a brand new computer, I would be able to process my videos and the content a lot faster to get them out and publish them on YouTube a lot faster for you guys, to help you guys create whatever it is that you're trying to create on the CNC. In addition to that, I want to be able to expand this channel and grow this channel to something that it hasn't been doing in a long time, and that is live videos, live Q&As, live preparation work of SVGs, and just be able to expand it to better help you guys in real time. As it is right now, my computer is over 10 years old. The processing speed is a lot slower than it was 10 years ago when it first came out. It's just been our daily workhorse here at home, in the shop, and now to edit these videos. If you would like to further support the channel in this way, the GoFundMe account link is in the description below, and we would appreciate your help. If you decide to donate in this aspect, just know that the funds will be going directly back to the channel, and we just really appreciate it here for your help. With that said, guys, let's just go ahead and jump into this video. Alright guys, so jumping into Carbide Create, this is the second time I'm doing this. The first time it was really long. I want to get you guys some things to think about, some of the things that I'm going through as I create some of these custom flags and then tile them, but it was just over an hour, so the editing process was taking way too long, so I just figured let me just do it real quick and we'll hit it hard and hit it fast, and that way you can still click and copy and paste basically what I'm doing. Do as I say, click what I do. Alright. So let's just jump right into it. This is the final product here. So I need to go ahead and grab a flag, and let me go ahead through the magic of editing, bring that flag and this logo in here. Okay, so here I have my American flag. I have this for sale on my Etsy. If you want a flag that's already correctly spaced, you don't have to get mine, but if you want, you can go ahead and get one. It's already spaced in between these stripes, or the spaces between the stripes is already set up correctly. So let's just go ahead and get this flag created. For this particular flag, we need to add this logo, and we also need to add a space for a plaque, which is this little rectangle here. But let's go ahead and talk about our setup screen. The first thing that I need to do is I need to create, the grid is basically the material that I'm cutting on, and so it is a 36-inch wide piece of pine, and it is 20 inches tall. That is the material that I'm carving on, and that is in Lowe's edge. That's from Lowe's, and it's the edge glued pine panels. My final flag is not going to be that size though. It is going to be 19.5 inches tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this flag, and I'm going to create a vector, a rectangular vector. You should add anything there, and then I'm going to make this 36 inches wide, which is the true size to the panel, but I'm going to make it 19.5 inches tall. And I'm going to have that vector selected. I'm going to come over here to the align vectors option, and I'm going to center it. This is going to give me the correct dimensions of the flag. So everything's going to be sized to the correct dimensions of the flag. And so what I need to do now to correctly size this flag is I need to create and copy, actually more than anything, not create, but copy and paste this particular stripe first. So I'm going to press Command C and Command V. If you have a Mac, if you have a Windows operating system, it's Control C and Control V. And I'm going to attach it to this corner node just to get the stripe attached there. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to this bottom 12th stripe. And then I'm going to paste it here and create my 13th stripe. Once I have those there, I'm going to select the flag. And as you can see, I selected the outer vector, so I need to get rid of that by holding Shift and deselect it. Now I can group my flag by clicking on this group vectors icon. and then I'm going to press center or align vectors and align center horizontally and vertically. As you can see, that is a little bit too close for my liking here on this edge here for the stars and the stripes as well. So I'm going to click OK, but I'm going to click on scale there, and then I'm going to click and drag the flag a little bit in to resize it or shrink it. And then once it's reduced in size, I'll do the exact same thing, align vector, center horizontally and vertically. And that to me gives me what I like. It's a little bit more space here with the stars. And this top stripe here is a little bit closer to this edge, so I'm okay with this particular position here. So we're going to click OK, and that is good to go. I'll go ahead and select everything and ungroup it. Now we can get rid of this stripe, number 1 and number 13. Okay, with my logo now, resize it to whatever you think would look best within your flag. I'm going to center it now to the right hand side of the flag, or basically center it to this stripe, to the union stripes. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, you can have it way out here, but you're going to have your logo selected, hold shift and select a stripe. Now you have both these selected. We're going to click on align vectors, and we're going to click on align centers horizontally. So now the logo is centered to the union stripes. We click OK. We're going to hold shift and deselect the stripe now, that first, or technically the second union stripe. Now we want to get it centered here in the vertical direction. So all we have to do is have our logo selected, click align vectors, and then we're going to click on the align centers vertically. And now we have it vertically centered to the union stripes. And I apologize if I'm moving this a lot. Let me stop that because I know sometimes that can get annoying. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we're going to click our logo, and we're going to click and create an offset. Excuse me, we're going to create an offset. So we're going to click on offset vectors, and we want an offset of a distance of 0.25 to the outside direction. We're going to click apply. If we zoom in here, you can see that the vector that we want is this outside vector here. This is the offset. But what you're noticing here is that also all these extra offset vectors were created. We don't want those. So the easiest way to get rid of these without having to select them individually is just hold shift, deselect the one that we do want to keep, which is this outermost vector, and we're going to press delete now. Now every other offset that was created is deleted. And so the purpose of this process is to split these stripes, right? We want these stripes to go around and cut away, right? We don't want it to go through our design as they currently are. With the offset created now, we're going to see which stripes intersect that offset. And it looks like to me, just by looking at this real quick, that every single stripe has some sort of intersection with this offset. So we're going to hold shift and select every single stripe, and we're going to then group them. With the stripes grouped, we're then going to hold shift and select that outermost vector, and we're going to press on Boolean subtraction. Once we press Boolean subtraction, these blue vectors is what's going to be your final product. So you can see that the blue line here, or the blue vector or the stripe comes up all the way up to this part, and then doesn't intersect anymore this logo. So let's go ahead and press OK. And there you go. We have a perfectly created logo, or merged logo with the flag. We need to do the exact same thing here in this general area for the plaque. So if you ever create a plaque, flag or sign, all you need to do is create a rectangle to the dimensions of that plaque, and then you can, once it carves out, you can just set that plaque within that area. Depending on how thick that plaque is would determine how deep you need to cut that area. This is a very thin plaque that was created. My customer provided this for me, or provided it to me, that way I can inlay it into the flag. So the max depth that I cut to was 0.04, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a couple months now, several months now, but a 0.04 was able to allow me to inlay this particular plaque. So how did I do that? So I need to get it to the correct dimensions. So the dimensions is 5, 3,
Nope, it's the opposite. So it's 5, 3 here. So 5 inches wide, 3 inches tall. I need to pick a spot for this flag, or for this plaque, and I liked it within this stripe. And so I'm going to select my plaque rectangle, hold shift, select the stripe, and then I'm going to align it center. I'm going to center it horizontally and vertically. So now it's straight dead center to this stripe. Once I have it centered, I'm going to do the exact same process that we did for that logo. I'm going to select it. I'm going to create an offset. I'm going to keep an offset distance of 0.25 to the outside. With that created, I'm going to click on my stripe first, hold shift, and select the offset vector. I'm then going to click on Boolean subtraction, and that creates that split there. You can see it in the blue already. Press OK. And now we have that stripe split or subtracted to allow for that plaque.
I just want to jump in here now that I've edited this video that I think the best way to center the little plaque area, the little rectangle horizontally, would have been to use the stars rather than the stripe itself. Had I used the stars, it would have given us a better centered look overall. So just keep that in mind. If you do something like that, I would recommend that you do the center, the horizontal center based off of the location of the stars.
Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is work on our towel. Since this is a flag that exceeds the cutting area of my CNC, I need to divide the carve into 2 steps or 2 carves in this particular case. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and create those tiles, and a tile is just going to be a rectangle vector, and I'm going to divide it in halves, again, because my cutting area is 30 by 30, so 30 inches wide. And so since this is 36 inches wide, I cannot cut it, straight in. So I'm going to create a width of right down the middle, which is 18. And this is going to remain the same at 19.5. I'm going to have that vector selected. I'm going to copy and paste it just like that. And I'm going to have this one here on the available for later. I always like to start on my right hand side because that's what gets carved first when I lay it on my CNC. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the right hand side. I'm going to bring this vector and attach it to the very corner there. And we're going to move on to the next step. Conventional wisdom, or the typical information that you're told when it comes to tiling, is that whatever fits within this tile, within this rectangle, is what's going to be carved. If anything is outside or to the left of this tile, it's not going to be carved. So that would mean that this ribbon has to somehow be split here with this E, this ribbon, and these stripes. Well, I'm not going to do that. While that may make sense, I don't think that is the best or most efficient way to set up a tiling piece. What I would recommend you do is to think about your cutting area, what you're allowed to cut, and manipulate your vectors and your tile to better benefit you. And so let me explain what I mean. So again, this is cut here down at the 18-inch width. I have a 30 by 30 cutting area. So I know that I can actually carve something that exceeds this 18-inch line over here to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my vector selected, and I'm going to scale this, and I'm going to increase this size. And just through trial and error, I like to include all the stripes up to all the union stripes if possible. And at this point, I'm at 22 inches. So I know for a fact that I can carve all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press done. I'm going to see what intersects now with this vector here, this line part of the tile, and I can tell that it's these 3 stripes. So I'm going to select these 3 stripes. I'm going to hold shift, or excuse me, I'm holding shift and selecting all these stripes, and then I'm going to group them. With them selected, I'm going to then hold shift and select the tile, and then this time I'm going to click on the Boolean intersection. And I'm going to press OK. And now I have the stripes here that are to the right of that tile available for me to group over here on the right hand side now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this extra vector that I created with the width of 18 inches. I'm going to attach it back to my correctly sized flag vector. And now all this right here is going to be one tile. So I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to group it, and then I'm going to pull it away, just like that. And what I failed to do is I failed one major step. I failed to create copies of my flags. And once again, through the magic of editing, I'm going to undo everything that I did and then create a few copies to be able to move on to the next step. So give me 1 second. Okay, picking back up where we left off, one of the tips that I forgot to mention is that once you have your flag correctly sized, go ahead and make several copies of it, because you're going to at least need one to finish off this toweling process. So here is a copy of it, one of the copies that I have. And if you recall, we had created our tile here and have everything grouped. With our another copy created, we're going to bring it up and we're going to attach it to the correctly sized flag, just like that. I'm then going to select this tile here. You can see that this vector right here is not selected, and that's because that is my tile. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one and bring it out, just like that. Now I have this tile ready to go, and I can work on carving this left hand side now. So what I need to do is I need to create another vector at that 18 by 19 and a half, and now I'm going to attach it to the left hand side, just like that. Okay, so now my tile is placed on the left hand side now, and so I got to look at this image, and just as we did before, what intersects this particular line here of this tile? It's going to be these union stripes, this ribbon, and then this bottom number 12 stripe. But if you recall, we're going to carve the union stripes on the first tile, and as well as this logo or this ribbon. So the only one that I really need to intersect is going to be this bottom one. So that's what we're going to select. First, we're going to select the stripe, hold shift, select our tile, and we're going to then press Boolean intersection, press OK, and there you go. There we have it. That's already set up. And what I didn't do this time around, just to show you, is I didn't have an extra copy of the tile created. So you just got to create the vector again. So this is 18 by 19 and a half, just like that. We're going to set it up here on the left hand side corner. Just confirm it. There we go. And then when we go to select everything here for this tile, we're going to just select it like that. I know I got some of that ribbon. That's okay. I'm going to delete that here in a second. Okay, so now with it selected, I'm going to ungroup everything, hold shift and deselect all these vectors that I don't need. And group it again, because those are the ones I do need. And we can pull this off like that. And we can get rid of this one now. Don't need this one anymore. Okay, now with our tiles created, we can confirm that the tiles are done correctly, because we can attach everything back to the grid using our nodes. And if it creates the image correctly, we know that we did it right. And there we go. We are correct. Everything's turning out right. So now we're going to move on to the next step, which is the setting of the toolpaths and execution. Because my CNC again is 30 by 30, it cannot cut a flag that is 36 inches wide. So the only way to make this work is to set it up vertically. So I'm going to pull these off for a second. I'm going to get rid of this here for a second. And now I need to set this grid up in the vertical direction. So I need to click on my setup screen again. I'm going to switch these out. So now the width is 20 and the height is 36. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this representation of my final flag. So it's 19.5 by 36. I'm going to select align center horizontally and vertically. And that's set up correctly now. I'm then going to select my tiles. I'm going to rotate them 270 degrees. So type in 270 and then press done. Same with this one. 270, done. Now we can go ahead and place them on the grid again. And I'll actually leave it like that for now, because when we actually go to execute it, we're going to start with this right hand side tile first. So I don't need this one right now, and it's not even going to be placed up there anyways. So if you can visualize this, when we set up our material on our wasteboard, this grid here, this line of this grid, or just this line here and this edge, is going to be edged up to the very edge of our wasteboard. And so that's where we're going to secure it. So that is edged up here to the wasteboard. With it edged up to the wasteboard, we're going to run our toolpaths on this first tile. And you're going to run it however many times you need to, right? Because sometimes there's shallow carves to get alignment placements, things like that. But once you are done with your carve and you're ready to take it off the CNC, you're going to, we got to think this through now. You're going to move your flag material. You're going to move it down to the 18-inch mark line on that piece of material. You're going to shift that down until you get to the edge of the wasteboard again. So the edge of the wasteboard here will be the start of that 18-inch mark on the material. And if you're thinking through this, your material is actually going to be, the first 18 inches is going to be hanging off the CNC machine in the air. Okay, so you got to make sure that's secured down correctly. And then so once you have that secured, you're going to remove this here, and you're going to bring in that second tile. And you're going to set it up here, and you're going to then execute or send off those toolpaths in the for the CNC to run. Okay, so let's talk about toolpaths real quick. For this particular project, since I did do some painting, I did do a shallow carve first at like 2.02. 0.02 was the max depth. I set my Z0 somewhere over here in the badge area the first time, but I noticed that the stripes were not carving correctly, and some of this shield did not carve correctly, so I ended up carving it twice. So I set my Z0 over here somewhere the second time around to make sure I had good clear lines, that way I can paint this thing correctly. Since my favorite thing to say when we carve flags is that this is not fine furniture, I like to push the speeds a little bit. So when we come to set up the toolpaths, we want to make sure to ungroup the group here and get rid of this tile. We don't want that in our toolpath selection because then that'll mess everything up. With our stripes and logo selected in this case, all I did was an advanced VCarve. So to create that, you're going to select your stripes and your logo, click on this VCarve icon. You're going to use current selection. You're going to enable the pocket tool. I used a 1/4 inch end mill, 201 1/4 inch end mill, plunge rate and feed rate 80, 90, RPM at 18,000. And then I did use a 60-degree V-bit to come in and clean up the edges and get all the finer details, 80, 90, 18,000 as well. Again, the first carve was at 0.02. Okay, once I had that all completed the first time around, I actually deleted it and just set it to a deeper max depth. So I did again, 201, 80, 90, 60-degree V-bit, 80, 90. And then I think I did like 0.04, 0.05. I can't remember at this time. It was back in July that I did this carve. Okay, so now with that executed, we can then move this off to the side. We've shifted down our material. We secured our material. Now we bring in this second tile, and we are going to run it as well. We're going to repeat that process. We're going to select our tile. We're going to ungroup it. We're going to get rid of the tile now. And then we're going to select our stripes and our plaque. And that was an advanced VCarve as well. So let's get rid of this one here. So click the VCarve icon, use current selection, enable the pocket tool, 201 end mill, 80, 90, 18,000 RPM. The V-bit was a 60-degree V-bit, 80, 90, 18,000. Here's another tip, tip number 3 maybe at this point. When you go to carve your second tile, you need to reset your Z0. And when I reset my Z0, because I'm not perfect, right? There is going to be variation between the Z0 of the first tile and of the second tile. So what I like to do is I like to set my max depth back to 0.02. So if I carved a max depth of 0.05 on the first tile, I will still, regardless, I will still set a max depth of 0.02 because I want to, if I can, work my way up to that max depth that is even or matches that first tile. So make sure to set a shallower depth to just check to see how you're looking. And it doesn't even have to be on the entire design. It could be on one stripe. It can be on one single stripe to make sure to, if you're at 0.02 and you are carving shallow, then you can increase it to 0.03 and kind of work your way up to that to match that depth. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 0.04 here because you can do a test carve on a single stripe, for example, or in an inconspicuous area to get that final max depth. So just keep that in mind. And then the stars are going to be a V bit or a VCarve. Use current selection when we have that set up. With our window opened up now, we are not going to enable the area pocket tool. We do not want that. We are going to edit only the V tool. And in this case, I'm going to use a 90-degree V-bit. That's the best, in my opinion, for this size of flag. And then we're going to go 80-90 as well. And the depth per pass is going to be updated to 0.15. And the max depth here is going to be the thickness of your material, so 0.75 in this particular case. And there we go. We have our stripes ready to go, and that's going to take about, 7 minutes. Not too bad. Okay, so that's how you would set up the second tile. I would start with stripes first to make sure that my Z0 is good here on these stripes. And then once you're ready to carve the stars, I would reset my Z0 again just to make sure that we're getting good star output. Okay, so one more thing that I do want to mention, and maybe I should have mentioned this while I was doing it, is that when you set up your second tile, is that you want to make sure that you bring in your first tile to make sure that the alignment is correct. As you can see, when I attach this flag or this piece here to the flag, you can see that the stripes are not in alignment. So make sure to bring in your first tile to just check, make sure everything is correct. Okay, the other tip that I want to share with you is that you're going to want to do a test carve to make sure that your alignment is correct. So you want to make sure that the stripes are seamless as close as possible. What you don't want to have happen is that you're going to be off, maybe something like this. That actually may be fine. You probably won't see that with the naked eye, but if it was too far off, just like something like that, that's going to look terrible. So how would I determine correct alignment? I would take a vector such as this. I just created one, and then I would overlap the joints, or where one stripe meets the other. You're going to select your vector that you created, this rectangle vector, hold shift and select the stripes, click on Boolean subtraction, press OK. And what we're actually, before we press OK, what we're going to be left with is these vectors here. And I want to carve this guy right here, this one right here in the middle, because this will let me know whether or not my new placement, my new XY are in my new X, excuse me, specifically, my new X, if it's in the correct location. So with that there, I'm going to just carve this one at a shallow depth of like 0.01. And if I am off, I will then adjust my X zeros. Typically I'm typically off to the right, so I would have to move it to the left. I know that based on my CNC history, like my use of it, you may find something else on yours. You may actually be even dead on. But that I would do some sort of test carve in an inconspicuous area if possible. All right, guys, so that's going to be the process of how you set up a custom flag, how you set up the tiles. You have some tips here that you can consider when you are executing it. And so let's go ahead and take a look at the montage video of this actually being carved. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you liked it, leave me an emoji. It all helps. I know that I went fast, but that's because I want you guys to be able to get the information as fast as possible. So go ahead and pause, rewind, and just click and do as I said. All right, guys, we'll see you guys on the next video. Let's take a look at those videos. All right, guys, so I ended up running it twice, the pre-carve, just because I wanted to make sure that I had a good indication of where the light gray was going to be painted. As before, the first time around, some of this stuff on the left-hand side did not carve correctly. It just didn't carve deep enough, so I couldn't tell where these ribbons were at, things like that. So I went ahead and reset my Z0 over here to the area where it wasn't really carving all that much, and it carved it, or then I carved it again, and this time around, you can see that I have these nice lines here. I can tell where this border is at. I wasn't quite sure before the last time I wasn't quite sure because I didn't have this line here. Same with over here, I didn't have these lines. So yeah, it carved a little bit deeper here, definitely more deeper over here on this side, and you can see that those 1/4 inch circles are now gone just because it was able to carve deeper. There's more separation between these lines here and here, whereas before it didn't have that. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this up now, and then we're going to run it to the correct depth, which is going to be around 0.04, 0.05, and it'll just make these lines a little bit thicker. These came out nice. You can see that really nice, clear separation between these areas. And yeah, so let's go ahead and start painting some more, and then we'll run it to the final depth. Okay, so I've finished the painting of the gray, the dark gray, and the red. So what I've started doing now is I've started to torch the red areas because I want to get that grain to pop out. And if I happen to torch the white stripes, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to carve it to the correct depth, and not all that torching that may come in here, and even all this red stain in these white stripes is going to get removed because I am going to carve deeper. So that's going to give us our clean image. Let me go ahead and torch this, and then we'll carve it to the correct final depth. All right, guys, so this tile is now complete. I went ahead and cut it to the final max depth of 0.04. As you can see, nice clean letters. This area here where the paint was at is now all removed. There is some paint left over in these lines here, but that's okay. These are going to be painted dark gray or black, so that's not going to matter. I'll just cover that up. But overall, very, very happy with how this tile has turned out. Very clean. And so we'll go on to the next step, the next tile. So I'm going to be using this stripe as the test or alignment test. So I'm going to reset my Z0 here in this general area because it's a brand new location. Everything's changed except for the XY. Everything is still going off of the XY here. But the Z0 is reset every single time I do a tile, especially when I'm doing a test carve for alignment. But regardless, you reset your Z0 every single time you do the second tile. You do not change the XY. So my 1/4 inch is ready to go. It's just been measured here using the bit setter. It's ready to carve. I just got to turn it on and let it go. But just wanted to share with you that every single time it's a little bit nerve-wracking, regardless of how many times I've already done this process. Because as you know, I'm sure you've messed up many projects that you just never know. Something could have gone wrong. But I'm just going to send it. Sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith, literally, and just send it and see how it goes. I don't think that it's going to be completely square. I think it's going to be off at some point, but that's why we do the test carve. And so let's just go ahead and see how it turns out now. Since I'm carving this stripe again, or at least a piece of it, a portion of it, the whole idea is that it should not widen the stripe. It should not remove some more of this red. If it's doing that, then I have to adjust the X and Y, or the X position, and then run it again until I'm not taking away any of the red stain.
I was off a little bit to the right. I was carving into the red stripe. So what I had to do was reset my X to the left a little bit, and to be able to achieve that, you have to go to your original X location. In Carbide Create, or excuse me, in Carbide Motion, there is a way to go to or jog to the XY location that you're currently set at. Once you click on that and you're at the location of your XY, you then can move over to the left or whatever direction it is that you need to move to be able to get back center and get those carves correct. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple videos that I quickly took with my phone on Carbide Create on my computer, and that'll show you a little bit more of what I'm talking about.
All right, guys, so how do I get to my current X and Y location? You go under Quick Actions, and you move your cutter above current X, Y, 0. Once you get it there, mine's already there currently. Once you get it there, now you're able to jog, continue, and now you're able to move the X to the left or to the negative. Once you move it to an amount that you are happy with, then you'll set your X0 again. In this case, I'll probably just do 0.1 and or 0.01. and then call it good there. So, all right, let's just go ahead and do that now. Just like that, I moved it 0.01. I'm going to set my Z0, or X0, excuse me, X0. Don't change anything, just your X0. Done. Okay, and then I'm gonna run it now. Okay, so my 1/4 inch end mill just got measured with the bit setter. It's ready to go for take number 2. Now that it's done the first time around, now that it's not like carving way over here in the logo or anywhere, and I am correctly set up, now I feel more comfortable just to send it. But here we are, just a reminder, it did carve to the left here, or to the right here. I moved it to the left 0.01 inches, set my X0 again. Now let's run it. Let's see how much it takes off, hopefully nothing. Okay, so that actually looks really, really good. It did not carve up to this line here. It did not carve up to this line. I don't want it to carve up to this line. Why? Because my 60-degree V-bit is what's going to carve up to this line. So it did look like it was to the left of the final line, or to the final edge. So I'm going to go ahead and change it over to my 60-degree V-bit, and I'm hoping that the 60-degree V-bit rides along this line here. So let's hope that's the case. And if that is the case, I know that I'm in perfect alignment. Okay, 60-degree V-bit is measured and ready to go. So let's turn it on and send it, and hopefully it rides along that edge. All right, guys, as you can tell, I thought I was far enough, but that 60-degree V-bit actually came into the red stripe here. So I'm going to keep going and repeat this process until it no longer carves on this little shelf now that it's created. So let's just rinse and repeat. I'm not going to show you this process now. I'm just going to keep going until I get it just right. Okay, so I think I finally got it to the correct position. I actually even touched up the area here already. So I think I'm good. Now the real test is actually going to be this stripe. Can I continue the stripe with an even line here, you know, continuation of this stripe? So let's go ahead and just trust the process, trust ourselves, and send it. Okay, so I think I have the alignment based off of this. Now we're doing the test on this stripe. So let's just this stripe alone.
So let's go ahead and send it now, and you know, wish for the best here. So far so good. We're at least in the stripe area. We're gonna have to let the whole thing run to see how accurate it is, because it's gonna have to, we're gonna have to wait for the 60-degree V-bit to give us that final carve. All right, so I just missed it, but I think I'm good, guys. It looks pretty darn good. Again, we'll see with the 60-degree V-bit. All right, changing over now. It looks, again, really good. Oh, moment of truth, guys, moment of truth. Money, we are on. We are dead on. Oh, not dead on. Not dead on. Okay, we're not dead on, but I'm okay with that discrepancy there. Okay, so we're not completely on. So, do I want to update this? Do I need to update this? I think I'm okay with this. Okay guys, so it looked like we were dead on once this 60-degree V-bit came through here. We're not entirely dead on this side, as you can tell. It kind of did carve still to the far right. I think it's okay. You know, this particular project's not, again, we're not, I've said it many times, we're not building fine furniture here. This is something that, you know, we could torch through. We can touch up with some red stain here in this general area, and we won't see it, especially since the rest of the stripes are not connected to the entire board or the entire flag. So I think that's something that we can live with. We're going to go ahead and continue running the project as is, and we're going to go ahead and get this finalized. All right, guys, so we have the alignment carve completed. I can tell where my stripes are at. I'm able to now tape this off and stain my union blue and get the rest of this area stained red, and then we'll carve to the max depth of 0.04. So that's the step. You just repeat what you did on the first towel here on the second towel, and that's what we got to do first is do a shallow carve, stain, and then final carve. All right, let's do that now. All right, it is now stained. I'm going to torch it to dry it to then carve at the max depth. It's all torched, dried up. Let's go ahead, and it looks messy. So let's go ahead and send it off to the machine. Let's go ahead and do the max depth at the 0.04, and let's see how it turns out. All right, so I got some nice carved stripes, nice and clean. There was a little bit of stain bleeding, I guess, or just me not being careful enough right there. So I got to go ahead and sand that afterwards myself, but that's okay, nothing major. And then the next thing that I need to do is reset my Z0 here in this union area, and then carve the stars. So don't just carve the stars without setting your Z0 in the general in this area, in anywhere here. You were going to want to do that. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's carve these stars. Okay guys, all done. The moment of truth though now is also to check that the square here fits the sign or the little plaque. And just like that, guys, that fits so good. Perfect fit. On to the next step, which is going to be sealing the entire thing and then painting this area the correct colors. I'm going to seal it because by sealing it, it protects the painted areas already, and if I bleed into the other areas, I can just wipe away. So let's go ahead and get this dusted off and ready for for the sealing and then the painting. Guys, I didn't record the final painting. It is just painting. So go ahead and finish your product, your flag, your sign as you need. But in this case, here is the final product. Let me know what you think.